historiography as an art of writing and history as a site of hermeneutics, reading and interpretations have always been an ambiguous intellectual and academic praxis. Both reading and writing of history have been prerogative of the mainstream society, as both the actions demand for written words and knowledge of words. History, therefore, often tend to reject the unwritten, such as folk tales, legends, lores, and myths. So, when speaking about representations in history, we need a panoptic gaze and criticism. Re-questioning and reinterpretation of history are some of the current historical practices in contemporary academics. Surprisingly, we have confounded history to literate past and people only. Therefore, we have failed to correlate history's relationship with the invisible sources such as folk tales, folklores, myths, legends, rock art, etc. We consider readings of folk literature and folk art merely an artistic and exotic expression, resulting misinterpretation. So today I'm going to talk about how Orao tribes have been misrepresented in colonial writings and colonial history. But more importantly, I'll focus on how they can be represented in an unbiased way by using their own voices through their tales, their lores, and their myths. So, welcome to another episode of Folklore and Culture. So, my question now is, why is it important for us to hear the silenced voices of the marginal tribes? What behooves more is the urgency of restoring the lost identity of these tribal people who are given scheduled tribe status in the Indian Constitution. The recovery of their cultural pasts, their language, their identity would definitely empower them to assert their power politically, culturally, and position themselves in the country. Needless to mention the upsurge of government policies, institutions, and civil sensitization about the ontological significance of these tribes in Indian society has also forced academicians and activists to revisit the unexplored and often neglected pasts of the Indian tribes. The present discussion intends to contextualize the interrelationship between folk tales of Orao tribe, who once used to live in the Kaimur region and are now inhabiting in the Chota Nagpur region. So much research is required to focus on these marginalized and estranged, the undiscovered historical sites, locales, places, etc. This is required for authenticating and augmenting Indian historiography, and if we do so, our historiography would be a fitting counter-narrative, not only to the elite historians, but in India, also to European historians who have either failed or misrepresented our history. Let's now understand the misinterpretation of the Orao tribes in the colonial writings. Through a description of interaction of the Christian missionaries in Chota Nagpur with the Oraos, we'll understand in short how in different ways missionaries grappled with the restructured and their notions of the tribe and Orao across 19th and the early 20th centuries. The Orao was initially recognized in terms of heathen practices, their being compact with the devil, and their world of idolatry and demonology. So by the end of 19th century, they increasingly became, in missionary language, an animistic aboriginal tribe, a primitive with an evolutionary schema. As the missionaries searched for an authentic Orao language, for myths, traditions, and histories, an array of categories like heathen, savage, race, tribe, aboriginal seemingly jostled with so many narratives. Indeed, the tension between religion and race could never be resolved in missionary narratives. This was reflected in colonial ethnographic literature that drew upon and yet eventually marginalized missionary representations. So let us now know a little bit more about the fascinating Orao tribes. Oraons are located all around the Kaimur range and near Hazaribagh range of Jharkhand too. There are rock art sites reported in Adhora, Chand, Chainpur, Bhagwanpur, Rampur, blocks of Kaimur and Sasaram, Nohata, Tilhutu, Rohtas, blocks of Rohtas districts. So we would be attempting to explain a few Orao folk songs that are still existent among the Orao tribe and narrate the story of their ancestral place and their consequent migration to their current domicile in Chota Nagpur in Jharkhand. The narrator of the odes is an anonymous Orao ancestor who seems to remind the younger Oraos about their origin and fateful migration to their new place of habitation. The form of these odes seems to be largely dramatic, monologue, and the tone is predominantly elegiac and sometimes heroic, especially when this anonymous singer sings the glory of the fort of the Oraos and their battle. We also perceive a sense of pride and loss interplaying at the same time, quite fitting to the historical rise and fall of Orao tribe in India. Let me now present a few lines from the Orao folk song translated in English. Where are your origins, O man? Where were you first born? Our roots were in Rohtaspur Patna, but Nagpure is your birthplace now. Hey, where were you created and where did you lay your eggs? I was born in Rohtaspur Patna, but in Nagapure I was brought up in eggs. So the story of Orao Genesis is narrated in an elegiac and nostalgic mode here. The narrator, through his monologue, draws the attention of the listeners to the details of their origin, their ancestry, and their place of origin. And then he himself testifies that their actual ancestry was a place called Rohtaspur. Another translation of a folk song goes like, there are the mudgars made of sal for the girls of Rohtas, and the girls are moving into the forest to play hunting with the mudgars in their hand. O mother, these young girls of Rohtas are bustling with their age and calling us repeatedly to join in the game of hunt. O little girls, will you play the game of hunt? Will you put turban on your head? Oh, it's certain that you will put on turban to your heads. You have hunted a deer, but now you have to carry it home on your shoulders. When you lifted the deer on your shoulder, your waist started shaking. The narrator describes a hunting game played by the Orao boys and girls, and the boys seem to be reluctant to include the girls in their hunting gang, and therefore are seen complaining to their mothers regarding the Nubai girls' playful intentions to be included in the boys' hunting group. So the boys are asking to the girls if they can put on the turbans on their heads like boys do, and if at all the girls can also carry the weight of the full-bodied deer on their back in case they succeed in hunting it. So they are also interjecting that if all girls can carry a hunted deer, their waist will shake with its weight. We sense an interplay of gender role here. Hunting is being described as a male profession, though a great interest is shown in the Orao girls as well. The narrator also describes the physical beauty and youthfulness of the boys and girls here. So we notice narrator's intentions to portray Orao tribes bustling with young lives and festive events. Another folk song about the great bamboo battle against the invading Kharwa tribes goes like, there has been a battle, the battle with the Kharwar, the bamboo battle in the wood of Brindavan. Our king won the battle with the bamboos of Brindavan, and he built a bamboo palace and lived happily. The narrator mentions about a war raised by another tribal community called the Kharwar in their vicinity, that is Rohtas and Kemur. He shares through his songs how the Kharwars invaded into the jungle in Brindavan for confiscating their bamboos. But their Orao king, Doria, won the battle and built a fort made of bamboos and lived there happily ever after. Bamboo enjoys significant cultural and economic significance in the Orao community. And the rock art found in the vicinity has also captured this particular importance of bamboo very effectively. The memory of their origin and subsequent forced migration reminds them of the great past and also gives them distinct sense of identity. This may be the reason why they must have thought to devote their time and energy in depicting the scenes from the series of battles they have had with their adversaries. Modern Oraos are not aware of the origin of their practice. Yet, when you look into their folklore and rock art, you would notice that they are so full of admirations for these animals, as they are so close and loyal companions of their masters in the battlefield. These animals have been depicted both in rock art as well as lore as a faithful companion in their fight for survival. Accordingly, they have also been accorded a respectful space in their cultural iconography. This is probably the reason why these animal forms are invariably present in the paintings, even in their outer walls. Moreover, we see similar practices in the form of terracotta figurines of animal forms present in their culture. It is a practice among these communities to offer these figurines to the local goddesses, whom they call Vanadevi, on all important festive occasions like Karma, Sarhula, and Deepavali, etc. And these figurines are generally made by unmarried males and females of the community. Folklore and rock art of the Oraos reveal a great deal of their social, political, economic, and cultural practices and their relationship with nature. They tell us about the position of women, intercommunal rivalry, their dependence on bamboo groups and domestic animals such as horses and elephants, rituals and religious activities, etc. The relationship of tribal societies with their surroundings. The relationship with the tribals with their surroundings are always very special. This dimension is also well reflected in the folklores of these two communities, and especially talking about Oraos. Unfortunately, due to their ignorance, the tribal folks of Vindhyan range do not associate themselves with the rock art found in these areas. When asked about it, they explain it as a work of evil spirits, and sometimes they say that epic heroes have made these. A similar opinion has been expressed about the rock art in Odisha, India. So, where the local people do not attach any special significance to these rock art sites. To them, the work of art in these shelters are works of heavenly bodies, or that of ghosts probably. They often considered this as taboo, and it's like they should not touch these work of art because it is from the other world. Fascinating, isn't it? Thank thank you so much for watching this video till the end. If you like my content, please like, share, and subscribe so that I can reach as many people as possible to create this awareness of how subalternity of certain communities have shunned them and silenced them for centuries now.